What's up, and welcome back to Kinda Funny's Gladiator in Review. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by, it's Christmas in November, Joey Noel.
Cameron Kennedy, just really doing the most.
And rounding out the group today, we do have the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
There's just no one else that can help us with these intros. Gotta be Cameron.
There's just nobody.
We've looked at other people. We've put the call out for other people.
We've exhausted all options.
Yeah.
Huh.
How do you feel about that?
I feel strongly that was the laziest he could have possibly done on that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know for sure, but I think I've seen that animation.
You've seen that before?
Maybe somewhere else.
I don't know. You got a whole new outfit.
I do. My legs do look good in it.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever
I'm
seen
holding
you.
a sword, you know, it's very different.
Yeah, my favorite thing is the injury in the arena being caused by nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, you'll see when you hit 40. It just happens.
You just
You just
like
get up
that.
sometimes. You go, well, I'm injured for the next 6 weeks.
That makes sense, everybody. Welcome to Kinda Funny's in Review, where each and every week we get together to rank, review, and recap different movie franchises. We're doing Gladiator, which means that next week we're doing Gladiator 2. So watch that this weekend, and then on Monday we're going to be releasing our Gladiator 2 in review for you to watch, consume, or whatever you want to do with it. I'm not going to judge you sickos. If you want to go above and beyond, you can get the Kinda Funny membership, which allows you to get the shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and you get a daily exclusive show that we like to call Greg Way, that most of the time is just Greg talking about whatever the hell he wants to. But next week, we got some special guest appearances.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I got to do a Greg Way.
Oh,
I
have
don't
you
know
ever
why.
done a Greg Way?
I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
Really?
Very
But that's
excited
about
to
to
see what
change.
that's going to be.
Who knows? It could be anything. If you have something you want me to do, tweet at me. Maybe I'll do it. You know? That's the type of guy I am.
Should they
Oh.
skeet at you too?
Skeet wherever you want. Again, I'm not here to judge, okay?
We got to figure out a new word for blue sky tweets. I don't know if
They're
we
just
can
going
do
to be
this.
tweets. They're tweets forever. Like, you can't change, like, the verb. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, YouTube can go away, and when people are still going to call it YouTubing. You know
Remember
what I
when
mean?
Google was like, we're Alphabet now, and it's like, no.
No, you're not.
You're Google.
Yeah.
Still to this
Facebook, you're
day,
Meta.
Twitter's
No,
not
you're
Twitter, and we don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is, everybody. But what else is a great time that you're going to have with us today, because we are talking about, of course, our Patreon producers real quick. Drummer Boy, Casey Andrew, James Hastings, Nathan Lamoth, and Carl Jacobs. We appreciate all of you. We also appreciate our sponsors, Aura Frames and Shady Rays, but we'll tell you all about that later. I want to talk about Gladiator, a movie I've never seen before, but now I have, and now we're going to talk about it. It has a runtime of 2 hours and 35 minutes, released on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, the year 2000.
2000
He is
is
Spaniard.
crazy, which I guess makes sense as to why I had also not seen it.
Yeah. You've seen this?
Gladiator?
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters in the Irvine
Oh.
Spectrum.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, let me take you on a little travel through time.
Let's
do it.
A little journey through time, as they say. It's 2000. I go with some of my friends. I'm like a junior in college at this point, maybe a sophomore in college at this point. Driving, obviously, I'm in college. I go over to the Irvine Spectrum, which I was working at, and I believe we had all gotten tickets, but this was before, obviously, like well before you could pick your seats. And we got there late. I sat in the front row for this movie. When the tiger scene happens, I just
could smell
saw a
it.
blur of orange and black stripes happening the entire time. So it wasn't really until I saw this, I rented this movie on home video from a Blockbuster, that I was like, oh, this movie's pretty freaking good. 'Cause I
Yeah.
just remember it being loud and very colorful.
Yeah.
It has become a classic. It is one of my wife, her favorite films. She's seen it probably like
Really?
tens of times, if not more than that. She loves it. This movie,
I love learning fun facts about D.
it was a moment in time. This movie. This was one of those things that was like instant classic when it came out.
So, yeah, it came out May 5th, 2000, directed by Ridley Scott, which, of course, we know him from Alien and Blade Runner. But, Nick, to you, Ridley Scott, like, what do you think are the big tent poles?
Alien and Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black
And now
Hawk
Gladiator.
Down.
Black Hawk Down was never one of my favorites. It's a weird movie. It's kind of an experience. It's because it's got like 30 different people in it, and it changes perspectives a lot. A lot of people like that. Dee likes that one as well for some reason. I think she likes Josh Hartnett.
Who doesn't?
But no, and you think Ridley Scott, you really do think Alien and you think Blade Runner. And those are the two movies that he's really known for. And that was why it was interesting, because I don't really think I thought of him too much until Gladiator came about.
Oh,
and everyone started
interesting.
talking about it. Because you have to remember, his brother, Tony Scott, I think did the bigger movies in the 80s.
Yeah,
he did the
Top
Beverly Hills
Gun.
Cop movies. He did Top Gun. He did Days of Thunder. He did a lot. He did Man on Fire with Denzel. And so I remember thinking, like, Tony Scott I also thought it was cool that both brothers directed. R.I.P. Tony Scott, by the way. But I just remember thinking like, oh, Tony Scott like has the better career now, and then Gladiator comes out, and it's just like it's just it.
It's it, everyone.
Yeah.
The music was done by Hans Zimmer.
The
Of
Zimmer.
course.
Come on. And Lisa Gerard. So I've seen a lot of these songs performed live. No big deal.
Oh.
Of course. You know what I mean? I may or may not.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
But it was funny, though, because like I had no frame of reference for the songs. And then now watching the movie, I'm like, I know these songs pretty damn well.
Yeah.
So they're great songs.
What's so interesting about the songs, real quick, is that I was listening to them when I was watching it, and I was like, these sound so similar to the Pearl Harbor soundtrack, which I am way more intimately familiar with. So Hans Zimmer was like, I've already done this. I don't know that I need to pour my full heart into the score for Pearl Harbor. Let me just pull some from Gladiator.
It's interesting you say that, though, because there actually is a lot of melodic similarities to like other songs that Hans Zimmer's done, but then also the other people, and he got sued.
For this?
For like plagiarism
interesting.
for this. And then they handled it out of court, so we don't really know like
what happened.
Not out of court, but they handled it out of the public eye. So we know the details of it all, but that did go down.
Interesting.
To me, it's less Pearl Harbor and more Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's the thing.
Oh,
No,
really?
it sounds like there are. I'm like, if you close your eyes and we're to play both next to each other for the action moments, you know, that like kind of beat, I would be like, I don't know which movie we're in right now.
And so that's what's super interesting is Hans Zimmer ends up doing the pirate soundtracks after the trilogy, if I remember correctly, because the original Klaus, I think his name is the one that came up with the he's a pirate. Like that wasn't Hans Zimmer, but like Hans Zimmer's now kind of in a weird way claimed it. Like he plays
is
that
so
song at his
interesting.
concert.
The real question is who did The Rock, because it's also The Rock, and if that's Hans Zimmer, then I give it to Hans Zimmer.
The
That's
Rock
a great
composer.
question. We've definitely looked this up when we did The Rock.
I think it's Hans. It's got to be Hans Zimmer because
Rock
it's Michael Bay.
movie. But Michael Bay and Hans Zimmer.
They not have a connection.
No.
Who am I thinking then?
Music by Hans Zimmer though.
Yeah, okay.
For this, yeah.
Who did Michael Bay work with then a lot for
music?
for the Transformers movies?
Steve Jablowski.
Of course. Of course. How could I forget?
This one had a budget of $103 million and a box office of $465.4 million, making it the second highest grossing movie of the year 2000. Nick, what was the first?
The second highest grossing movie of the year 2000. Ooh, that's a great question. The Matrix, maybe 2 or 3?
Mission Impossible 2.
Oh.
Mission Impossible
interesting.
2 at number 1. Castaway at number 3.
Oh, yeah.
What Women Want at number 4.
Great film.
Dinosaur,
Is it?
number 5.
Great film.
Jim
Dinosaur.
Carrey's Dinosaur, the Disney movie.
Okay.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey classic at
Yeah.
number 6. Meet the Parents at 7. Perfect Storm at 8. X-Men 1 at 9.
Yes, it is.
And then What Lies Beneath, which kicks ass.
Oh, What
at
Lies
10.
Beneath is so good.
Joey, let me explain to you the concept of what women want.
I've
okay?
seen it.
It's a movie all about men and figuring out what women want and then telling them what they want.
There's nothing a woman loves more than a man telling her what she wants.
Tim, do you know this film?
Oh, yeah.
Mel Gibson, right?
Where
Yeah.
you can hear women's thoughts.
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
just turns out he's a big fucking perv and they hate him. And
Yeah.
he
Who
thinks
plays
he's charming.
his
He's not.
daughter? It's someone.
I remember Marissa Tomei is a girl he hooks up with. I want to
His
say Helen
daughter's
Hunt's in this movie as well.
Yeah,
Who's the daughter in it?
I got it.
And then they did What Men Want, and it wasn't the same because women are like way more complex.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Who directed How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
Ashley Johnson.
Ron Howard
It's Ashley Johnson?
Yeah.
is the daughter.
Uh-huh.
Oh, right. Nice.
I did not know that. That's crazy. Yes, Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Good job.
Ron
Nick.
Howard
Good job.
like the
Directed
The
both.
Jim Carrey.
huh.
No, I'm kidding. He just did How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is even the weirder choice, maybe.
Ron Howard's a great director.
I know, but I just wouldn't have expected that.
No, me neither. But he picks great projects. Didn't he? No, Zemeckis did Castaway, right? Yeah. I think
Yes,
yeah.
that is correct.
Howard did Apollo 13. That's what I'm thinking. Great film.
and
How do we
Solo.
squid? How do we literally have to fit a square peg into a round hole? They had to figure out some shit. They scienced the shit out of that. It's cool.
Joey Noel, what did you think of Gladiator 1? This is your first time watching
My first time.
What'd you think?
I loved it, and I really didn't expect to. Gladiator's one that I think because of the age I was when it came out that I totally missed it. This was like not one that I went to go see with my dad by any means. I was like, I don't know, I don't care history. Meh. I'd rather go see take me to go see another James Bond movie or something a little bit more fun. But this was an interesting movie for me because as I watched it this week, I probably have like the least amount of notes for this movie as I do for almost any of our in review movies because I was just so riveted. And like the plot isn't overly complicated. And I feel like we don't get epic movies like this very often. I think probably Dune is the other comparison, which is not really my kind. It's too much space. Too much sci-fi fantasy
if you
stuff
think
is
about
not
it,
my
we're all
thing.
in space, Joey.
We really
I know,
are, Joey.
but the sci-fi fantasy stuff is like
get it.
not my deal. So it was so fun to see these like giant sets and these huge action pieces. I don't really have like a huge touchstone for Russell Crowe in my movie knowledge or my watching tendencies.
Yeah.
And I was like really surprised by how much I liked all of this. And like I was truly riveted by so much of this. And like obviously I feel like I should have expected that knowing the way that people talk about Gladiator and the way that people are talking about the sequel as it was in development and stuff like that. But I had an excellent time and like I gave it kind of a rare 5 stars on Letterboxd, which is I think I've given out like 2 5 stars this year for stuff that I've watched. And this I think is the 3rd. So I had a great time and I was excited but a little bit apprehensive, but it really was shocking and kind of blew me out of the water.
I'm right there with you. Like I would also give this a 5-star rating. I think that this is an amazing film, an amazing blockbuster, which does make me very surprised that this won Best Picture. Like I knew that going in because I got the Blu-ray and I was like looking at the box that said Best Picture winner, and I was like, that just doesn't like compute in my mind for what I know about this movie. And then after watching it, I still kind of feel that way. Where like this is awesome. The Academy doesn't really like give love to movies like this, in my opinion, and from what
like
I understand.
Action-based movies.
Yeah, this is such a blockbuster. And I love it, but it's very simple. Like I actually feel like there's a lot of things about it that like I can find things to kind of point at and critique, and like from story perspective, character perspective, a lot of the visuals of it I don't think are that great. And I understand
like
what you're
the
talking
dream kind of
about.
stuff.
The weird slow-mo shit that they do, like I don't think it holds up at all. But like that doesn't get in the way of this being such an amazing movie. Like it is so fun to watch, like so quotable, so many hype moments, so many hype actions. And I love how straight up cartoony the villain is. Like he's insane. And like just the thumbs up, thumbs down. Like the movie does such a great job of like, here's the world, we're living in it.
Yeah.
The opening scene with the giant fights and all that stuff, I thought the movie was going to be a bit more of that stuff, and I'm happy we got away from that pretty quickly, because all of the actual rise of him like coming up and being in the arena and becoming like the man of the people, I'm like, this is my favorite type of story.
Cool. Yeah.
Like hell freaking yeah. And I also love how insane the Gladiator battles were. Like all the different elements that they had at play. Like when the tiger showed up, I'm like, are you fucking for real?
Yeah.
Like they do some really, really cool stuff. And I think that they did a great job of like getting in, getting out. It was long, but it didn't ever feel long. I was like totally gripped the entire time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a lot in there that's like fluff that you could cut out. Like it feels like everything has like a purpose, which I always appreciate.
Nick, any more thoughts on what you thought of this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I love this movie. I think it's a classic. It's going back and watching it. I'm kind of struck. Specifically, spoilers. We've seen Gladiator 2 at this point. So at least I saw it a week early, and I'm struck between the visuals of the two, because Gladiator 2 looks fantastic. It's beautiful. The action sequences are great, and we'll talk about that when we get around to talking to it. This movie has such a filmic quality to it. Mainly the interiors, I think, were the things that always that stuck out to me upon this watch, because I didn't really look at it. But everything is so kind of well lit now in movies, and you go back and look at them, and they're like it's broad daylight, but they're in shadows, and there's like fire pit things hanging around, like little oil lamps hanging around. Everything's kind of dark and sinister and noir, and it's really kind of a special time capsule for when movies were shot on film, and you had a star that was, you know, on the rise and just right place, right time with Russell Crowe. Because I specifically remember thinking, going in, I'm like, I know Russell Crowe from movies like The Quick and the Dead or Virtuosity, where he played the bad guy, but I don't necessarily know him too much. I don't think I had a touchstone to him until Gladiator. And you go, oh, this guy, if you look at him, he's not a hulking presence on screen.
Yeah.
He's maybe, you know, I mean, they even put him up against next to the other Gladiator, like they put him up against John Hatsu, who's a little taller, and then the guy that plays Hagen was like 19 feet tall, which is great because I think Ridley Scott was like, hey, I'm hiring you because you're a good actor, and you can play this part and you can bring something extra to it. beyond the physicality of it, because it could have been a vehicle for The Rock.
Totally.
It could have been
Yeah.
a Jason Momoa, Conan the Barbarian remake that came and went and everyone forgot about it. But I think he wanted to tell more of a elevated story with that, and so he needed a very, very good actor. And then, of course, Russell Crowe would then go on a tear of doing incredible movies like Proof of Life, Cinderella Man, and
This is like his breakout role.
this is a breakout role, and
Okay.
one of my favorites that you guys may have not seen, but Master Commander: The Far Side of the Earth is like unbelievable movie
That
with
title
him.
screen.
It's so good. It's him and Paul Bettany, and they're just like hunting down a ship,
Yeah.
but they're becoming best friends, and
Love
it's
that.
cool. And so yeah, I really
Maze.
this movie's special. It's one of those like should be in the Library of Congress, should absolutely be studied. Time and place. It's an action film, but it's an elevated action film, and it's one that's slightly grounded in it feels like a period piece, which is good. So it's hard to have all those elements come together and not throw each other out of whack, and I think this movie really does a great job of it.
Yeah, I forgot to get to this, but it won 5 awards at the Academy Awards and was nominated for an additional 7. So it won Best
Dang.
Picture, Best Actor, Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, Best Costume Design, and it was nominated for, but didn't win Best Director, Original Screenplay, Supporting Actor for Joaquin Phoenix, Original Score, Cinematography, Art Direction, and Film Editing. So yeah, that's wild. A lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, we're about to get into the plot, but we're going to do that right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Sonic the Hedgehog at Topgolf. Y'all, when you take one good thing and you take another good thing and you mash them together, that is when magic happens. Kind of Funny loves Sonic the Hedgehog. Kind of Funny loves Topgolf. So you know Kind of Funny is hyped for Sonic the Hedgehog and friends to arrive at Topgolf at supersonic speed on Friday, November 15th with the launch of the new Topgolf game, Sonic the Hedgehog, exclusively available for play at Topgolf venues across the United States. Created for players of all skill levels, which is great for me, Topgolf meets the fast-paced action of Sonic in this new in-venue game where players go head-to-head in iconic virtual Sonic environments, Green Hill Zone and Sky Sanctuary. You can play as 4 iconic characters, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, to hit springs, collect rings, and destroy badniks. For players making the transition from a joystick to a club for the first time, Topgolf has your back with its new club, The Sure Thing, designed to make golf less hard. Come play around with your friends and family at a Topgolf near you and try out the new Sonic the Hedgehog game. This episode's brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are all about connecting with loved ones, and there's no better way to do just that than with a digital picture frame from Aura. You can upload your favorite pics of the family to one frame and relive all those happy moments again. Or you could share big news, like a new addition to the family. Most people at Kind of Funny have Aura frames at their desks, and it's always so fun to walk out in the studio and see what memories they have displayed. It's a great gift for your parents or grandparents, and you can even surprise them with their gift being preset with your own pictures. And if that's not personal enough, you can even upload a video message to play on the frame as soon as they plug it in. So the first thing they hear is your voice and how much you love them. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver Matte frames by using promo code KINDOFFUNNY at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code KINDOFFUNNY. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year, so don't miss out. Terms and conditions apply.
The year is 2024. Lasers are a commonly used technology. Snakes have been replaced by small robots and nobody noticed. The government tells us we must choose between resolution, frame rate, and quality. We will not be lied to. For the first time in this long, bloody war, the full power of the visual triangle is ours. On sale now at kindafunny.com/store.
Hit me with the plot, Nick.
Oh, I guess we don't mean to do the plot song. Sorry.
Do you have a quote? Because I got a quote.
I mean, you got to have that quote.
There's so many.
Is it I'll see you again, but not yet?
Well, no, that is one
Not
quote.
yet.
There's 3 main quotes or there's a lot of main quotes that come out of this. But the big one is what we do in life echoes in eternity.
Yes.
That's the one.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is
the quote.
so damn good. And then
7 minutes into this movie,
Yeah.
by the way,
oh yeah,
is when we get that
That's
quote for
awesome.
the first time.
we get, of course, a little super title over screen talking about how the Emperor Marcus Aurelius is fighting basically the last front in Germania, which I imagine is Germany. And if it's not, that's wild. They just had a whole place called Germania that didn't become Germany. But he's fighting the barbarian hordes. And obviously, this is the height of Rome, the height of corruption, but also the height of the land they own. There's one point where he points to a map and he's like, this is the Roman Empire. It's like a quarter of the earth.
Yeah.
And it's huge, leading all the way from like Africa, parts of like Africa, all the way up to like all of Europe.
But even Africa's like Africania or something, right? Like.
Oh, they took most of it. I mean, as we'll
No,
see.
like the name of it. It's like the it has a different name, right?
Oh, I'm sure
but it wasn't
the
Africa.
Latin
It was,
name or
I
whatever.
forget
it is.
what it was.
but it was similar to the German thing,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's Germany, but
Yeah,
it's not.
Germany. Yeah. And so of course they're fighting this front, and Marcus Aurelius and all the soldiers are tired because this war has it's been going on forever. And this is where we meet our main character, who is Maximus Decimus Meridius. Coolest
The
name.
names of these movies are so cool.
They are confusing though.
Well, especially on the
agree.
Caesar side. You know what I mean?
Commodus is easy because they put him over there, and Commodus is a historical character, as I think is Marcus Aurelius. But we meet him, and he is, of course, a very, very well-respected general. I don't know that we ever really get into his backstory, but he's a Spaniard, and I think he came up with the legion, the soldiers of Rome, to become a general. And we see that. We don't really ever talk too much about it, but we see it in the respect that his soldiers pay him as he's walking around. They all kind of bow down to him and tilt a head and like general, and he's a man of the general of the people, which is nice.
Yeah.
Which would be a nice juxtaposition with Commodus, who's not that. Of course, the emperor's there. He's watching from afar, and we start this badass battle. And I love how it starts too, where he's like, "Do you think?" He's talking to Quintus, who's one of his friends, who will of course betray him, and he's like, "Do you think they're gonna just give up and what's the word I'm looking for? Let us be conquered?" And he goes, "Would you?" And he goes, "No, I wouldn't." He's like, "Neither would I." And of course, as they're saying that, the messenger that they sent out there to like tell them to give up, comes back with his head off, and they're like, "Well, here we go. We got to fight." This
Devil's
kicks
horseman.
off our first battle, and of course, he rides over to his generals or his lieutenants. I don't know who they are. He's got a little camp of the leaders, and he's like, has just a banger of a speech that he gives them beforehand, where he's like, guys, death waits for us all, but not today. Like, it ain't gonna find us today,
Dude.
And he goes, because what we do today, what we do in life echoes in eternity. So people
Come
gonna
on.
remember this shit.
Every speech they give in this movie
So good.
is just perfect. It's so damn good. I love it. And I even love one of my other favorite quotes is "We who are about to die salute you." I'm like, come on.
I love that.
So-
I love that because that's an AC/DC.
I know.
line, too.
It's just so damn
those about to rock, we salute
you. But my favorite line in the entire movie is, "It vexes me. I'm terribly vexed."
Vexes me.
This movie made me understand the trend of like, what's your Roman Empire? Like, now I understand why so many people's Roman Empire is the Roman Empire. I'm like, damn. It makes me want to like read more books, quite frankly. And I don't really tend to be drawn towards historical stuff.
It's
But now I think it might be now.
it's absolutely fascinating and stuff I know absolutely zero about. And the Roman Empire was around for so long that there's just so many different eras of it. But
Yeah.
it's cool. Of course, we kick this off, and I also just want to give another shout out to my all-time favorite thing that they say in this is just, instead of saying like, "Hey, like have a good war or have a good battle," they say strength and honor. Yeah,
Strength and honor.
strength and honor, and like shake each other's hands, like fucking get in this. And of course, the battle kicks off, and he's just a great general, man. He's like this, that, flanking, and Quintus is like, it's too close. The catapult's too close. He's like, they're gonna be fine. I know my people, and of course there is. We get the big. What I like about this is he gets right in there, right? We start fighting. A lot of people start fighting. That he gets cut someone's head off with the sword. He gets stuck in the tree. It's a badass white hilt. You see the
Very
big
sick.
barbarian guy, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, Maximus is gonna fight this guy, and then no, like 3 of his dudes just like stab this
Yep.
dude, and you're like, oh, okay, well this is it. We're at the
Teamwork.
end of the war. We don't need the big grand thing anymore. And of course, everyone lives. Well, a lot of his people die, but they kill all the barbarian hordes. They take the last bit of Europe basically for the Roman Empire, and he is called before Marcus Aurelius, who is played by,
Oh,
you can just say Dumbledore.
thank you, Dumbledore.
Dumbledore number 1,
Of course.
number
OG.
2.
Yes.
OG Dumbledore, Richard Harris, who is just great in this, man. He's great in this, and the guy that plays Proximo is great in this as well, or Proximus, yeah. The original Gladiator. That's now the slave trader. But of course, he brings him in front of me. He's like, "Look at this map, man. We took it," and he's like, "But all I'll be remembered for is like all this death and all this conquering." And we get a little clap back here, Marcus. Gladiator or Maximus kind of claps back at him. He's like, "A lot of my guys died today, just so you know. So like, if you're not feeling this moment, snap the fuck out of it,
Totally.
right? Like this, you can't come out there and be like, this is for the glory of Rome, but what is Rome? And of course, they have this wonderful speech where he's like, I have this vision of what Rome could be, but it's so delicate, I don't dare but whisper it. It's a dream for what Rome could be, and that dream involves you, Maximus. You are, of course, a very, very beloved leader. Everyone has your respect. You are a war hero, and basically, my son Commodus is not a moral man, so I cannot. We've already obviously been introduced to Commodus and Lucilla, and he's got a little attraction to his sister, which is what it is. He's just automatically Joaquin Phoenix at this time in his life, perfect for this part.
What was his presence in Hollywood at this point?
He was coming up. He was, of course, the brother of River Phoenix, who had passed away maybe 5-6 years earlier of an overdose in LA. But River Phoenix was huge. And so Joaquin was interesting because he had done smaller indie projects coming up to this, but he was young. He did a lot of stuff.
Pre-Signs.
This is pre-Signs.
That's my main touchstone for him, I feel like. As
Oh
a
my
kid.
God. I didn't even realize that was him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Swing
yeah.
away, Meryl.
Remember, he's like,
Well,
he's
he
like,
didn't
get
say
out of
that,
there.
but
Yeah.
He
He's
didn't say
Meryl.
that?
He's Meryl.
He is Meryl. Yeah.
But yeah,
that's-
that's
that's
same
crazy.
difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow. And he's the Joker.
He is the Joker.
He's
Yeah.
had quite
Holy
a career.
He's had a great career and really loves working with him. Really likes working with so much. He cast him as Napoleon in
Oh,
the
really?
Napoleon movie.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That came out last year. The year
Yeah,
before?
everyone was like, "Wow, that was a mess." Really, he's been some ups and downs lately. Don't ever watch Robin Hood with Russell Crowe and Robin Wright. It's fucking horrible. I digress. Wonderful. Yeah, you've never seen it because it was really,
No.
really bad. It came and went, and everyone's like, "Just stay away from this." Great sequence here. Of course, we meet Commodus. So he says basically, "Look, here's the dream. I did all this thing in the time that I've been emperor, which is like 30 or 40 years. I've had 4 years of peace. We need peace. Rome needs peace. We need to give it back to the people. It's too corrupt, and I need a leader who's going to do that. And I want that to be you. Do you accept your charge?" And Russell Crowe says, "With all my heart, no."
So sick.
And that's why. And Richard Harris says, "That's why
it.
it has to be you."
Yeah.
Fucking great moment, right?
Yeah.
Great moment.
The
And so he's like,
unwanting
shit. He's like,
ruler.
"Look
Yeah.
it, dude. All I want to do is go back to, I'll say it, my smoke show of a wife and my cool kid and this dope ass vineyard that I live on
got
in like
the
the
vineyard.
north of Spain.
God.
Yep.
And I
That's
just
the
want to
dream,
live
truly.
my life and raise wine and make out with my wife and hang out with my cool kid, maybe make a couple more of those kids." And he's like, "But you got to be emperor for a bit." And he's like, "Well, that's going to sidetrack me a little bit from that plan, dog."
And I
Okay.
know that it's very obvious in so many ways from just inspiration, just how things work. But like to see Game of Thrones and for Game of Thrones to very much be my touchstone to like anything, even in this type of fantasy world, like that I like at all. Like immediately, I'm like, all right, we're getting the incest. We're getting the Jon Snow type character here with the guy that doesn't want to be the leader, but is going to be the leader whether he wants to or not. And the more that the movie goes on, the more I'm like, all stories are the exact same.
Yeah,
fucking
they really
thing,
are.
man. Like,
That
They
was
really
me,
are.
but with Troy, which is
that too.
obviously
Yep.
time and different. But because I love the Troy movie.
Man, we should
which-
throw Troy into this interview.
Why not?
I love
God,
that movie.
please
Thousand
let
shits.
me.
Brad Pitt might be perfect in that film. Just throwing
See,
everyone out
I
there.
like Eric Bana in it. That's
Either,
like
but
my
we
favorite.
don't have to pick. They're fine.
Yeah.
You can have them both
Oh.
in this fun fantasy.
Okay.
So, of course, he's like, "You have to do it." Russell Crowe, of course, is conflicted about it. He goes, "I don't want to do it." Commodus has a banger of a scene though. He comes in and he's like, he's just a little shit, and he's like, "Dad, I'm ready to take charge." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm letting you know right now, like, you're not going to be emperor. You're not a moral person. You're pretty terrible, actually." And he's like, "Why don't you love me?" And he goes, "It's not your fault. Your failures, your shortcomings as a son are my failures as a father. Don't you
Which is
understand that? Like,
Banger line.
but you're still a shithead."
Dude, this whole back and forth is so good, and I feel like just the economy of dialogue that they have here, it's like every word tells you everything you need to know about both of these characters, like where they're at and where they've been. But I really
Where they
loved
want to
like
be.
the listing the four virtues, where it's the son that's like the four virtues that you look for, and the four virtues I have, and they're just like completely different things.
Ambition.
It's dude, it's
Yeah.
great. And then him just saying, "Father, I would have butchered the world if you had only loved me."
Yep.
Before killing me.
Before smothering him with a hug.
Brutal.
Of course, Marcus is Maximus is called there to him, and he knows immediately. He's like, and they've crowned him. They've crowned Commodus Caesar, and he knows immediately that he killed him. And he's like, some shit's up. He runs out and he goes, "You got to get the boys. We got to figure this out." And of course, before he can do that, he is taken hostage, and he is ordered to be ridden out until dawn, and then as far out as possible, and then killed by some of his soldiers. Quintus, of course, he's just a company guy. It's like, well, he's new Caesar now, so I'm not going to do it. Could have been stopped right there. Just kill him. Maximus is the guy. We're ready to rock.
We're done.
Roll.
Kill Commodus?
Yeah, he could have just killed him right there, but they chose not to. Because it's obviously that he killed his dad, but whatever. Lucilla, of course, the most complex character of this whole thing, of course, is Connie Nielsen, who I think is phenomenal in this. She plays this so subtly, but there's just an undercurrent of fear for her the entire time because everyone around her is just a fucking butcher. And they don't see her, she's got a kid she's got to figure out. So she, of course, has to play the allegiances where she can. She sides with her brother.
Well, and her dad has the line of, like, if you were my son or whatever the thing was.
If only you had been born a man, what a Caesar you would have been.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is great. What a shitty thing to say and sad thing to say.
But
especially since
absolutely realistic.
Yeah, absolutely realistic, especially for the time period, which is hilarious because they do tell a story about Cleopatra later, who, of course, was the most famous female leader of all time. But yeah, the story is a sad one as well. Anyway, here we go. We do have a little moment with Maximus and Lucilla. We get a little heat between them. Something happened a long time ago. But we're not going to talk about that until the third act of this film, where they make out a little bit. Guess you're over your wife. It's been probably 6 months. Who knows? You just saw her fucking burn to a crisp and just hung, but whatever. It's not a big deal.
Dude, straight up Mad Max style.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's where we're at here, right?
Yeah.
Like, we get the scene of them being killed. And, like, the way that it is shot is the exact same way they shot the wife and kid getting killed in Mad Max.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little weird.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ridley has an interesting style in this, too, because so much of this makes this film feel like a classic adventure film from a bygone era. And then so much of it is like, hey, I really like when my brother Tony Scott does jump cuts and shit with like crazy bleach bypass footage that's like fucking wild and totally overexposed.
What if I threw some of that in?
Oh, what if I just had him floating above ground? Of course, I did screw up. I do want to mention, of course, one of the iconic shots of this film is the hand going over the wheat.
Yes.
We saw that at the very, very beginning.
The coloring of it is also interesting too.
I hate the coloring of the afterlife
so
shit,
much.
but I love the coloring of the hand going over the wheat.
I think it's just an interesting choice in general to do that.
Well, it's visual. It's great visual storytelling. I don't like how it's colored, but it's great visual storytelling in that
to differentiate.
we know he's not in that world,
Yeah.
right? And specifically, this is a wonderful shot because it's the beginning of the movie, and he goes, his hand's going over it, and it's got sort of like a ethereal feel to it. And then we cut back to him, and he's standing on the front of this dour, wet, ugly, cold Germania. And what does he have to do? He does the coolest fucking thing he possibly can do because he knows he's going to have to fight because the guy comes back with his head, leans down, grabs the dirt, and then smells it. Like, this is what this, I mean, he just does it. I don't know why
love that he
smells it.
has this, like,
but he's got a
ritual.
thing.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
routine.
It's like, oh, this is tight, man.
Anyway, they ride him out into the middle of nowhere, and of course, he outsmarts them and just fucking murders every single person. But he takes a big wound on the shoulder. Before having done that, of course, he says, "Please leave my wife and children alone." He goes, "Let me." And Commodus says, "Let me meet you in the afterlife," because they're already pretty much dead. They are dead. It's horrifying. He rides for God knows how long his horse into the ground, then runs, and then finds his wife and child burned alive, and then passes out. Crucified.
Brutal shit. I mean, man, anytime you see a shot of just fucking legs hanging, it's like a lot.
Yeah.
But like this was like immediately like heart wrenching of like, oh, dude, I feel for you, bro.
Yeah. Reminds me of the shoes in Jojo Rabbit.
That's what I was thinking
Tough
too.
one. So of course, this is where he is just immediately made a slave. I don't know how this worked back in the day. Clearly, this guy has a house and his SPQR tattoo, so he knows he's a soldier of the Roman Empire. But I guess you're just allowed to just, hey, this guy's kind of knocked out, put him in slavery.
Enemy of the state kind of thing.
Maybe.
You have to imagine it's a directive from Commodus. Well, I guess
No, because he thought he was dead.
killed.
Remember, because Commodus was told by his soldiers that he was dead. So that was always a little weird to me. I was like,
it was weird.
Whatever.
Like the way it showed him kind of like down, and then when he like got up and just like the situation he was in, it felt a little like fast.
Yeah. We're gonna clip along here too. We'll do some highlights as well. We meet Juba, who is played by Jaimin Hatsu, who the only other movie I remember him in, I think it was before this, was Amistad, which was the Steven Spielberg movie with Anthony Hopkins, which is a really fucking good film. But I remember him that was more of a dramatic role. So to see him in this, just jacked out of his gourd, fucking murking people is rad. Of course, he's like, don't touch your wound. It's got some maggots on it, but don't worry, they're going to heal you. He wakes back up and he's like chewing up the maggots and shoving it into his thing. And he's like, see, I told you. I'm like, just let me die.
Yeah,
just let me fucking die. And of course, he's like, I got to meet my wife and family. Where are they? Well, they're in heaven. I want to meet them. He goes, well, you're going to meet them, but my family's still alive. I want to meet them one day, but not today. Today ain't the day. We're gonna meet, because we got to go beat gladiators, ladies and gentlemen. We meet Proximus, I think.
It's
Proximo.
Proximo.
and then Maximus in the new one or whatever it was, right?
Well, it's his first name is Us, ends with Us, and then O for the
So
last.
Proximo, played by Oliver Reed, who died actually a few weeks before filming of this movie ended, which is crazy. So they had to like do some Crow style stuff with other people and like face CG and shit like that. But you don't really notice in this. It's really well done. And he's like, look, man, Gladiator. That's what you all are. Some of you are gonna die. Some of you aren't gonna die. But this is just what's gonna happen. Yeah, I gotta go fight for me. He puts him through the test, and he's like, I don't want to fight. He throws the thing and gets his ass kicked, and they stop him because he's like, this guy's got heart. He could be someone. We go to the very, very first gladiatorial meet, which of course I like to say these are the minor leagues, right?
Yeah, for
This
sure.
is like double,
It feels
triple
that
A
way.
ball, you know,
Yeah.
like single A ball.
Scouters come out, just check out. Like, does anyone here have the stuff?
Yeah. Of course, Proximo will learn later was a gladiator who was given his freedom by the one and only Marcus Aurelius in the form of a wooden sword. And he goes, you knew Marcus Aurelius? And he's like, no, I didn't say I knew him, but he touched me one time. He gave me my freedom and I respect him. That's going to come into play later. That didn't happen yet, but it doesn't matter. Of course, the backstory is Marcus Aurelius thought the games were brutal and not good for morale, and so he canceled the games, which is why Proximo is out in his cool ass villa in like wherever the hell he is, producing these games by himself. Basically the same how I imagine AEW is for you guys as opposed to WWE.
Yes.
We get our
NXT, but yes, I feel you.
fair. We get our first gladiatorial fight here where they're chained together, and this is awesome.
It's
so
fucking awesome. There's so much shit around here. I love your mother was there for your beginning, and I shall be there for your end.
Yes.
Holy crap, that's cool as hell. This entire situation is so sick. The fight back, and you get the applause, and they all just start fucking clapping. But yeah, them being chained together, I love this because it immediately gets you cool action scenes, but it also starts to introduce you to the kind of like gladiator class base of like, all right, there's the real low end guys that are here that are just essentially naked.
Yeah.
And then it's like, as you like do better and like survive these
Get cool as
fights,
shit.
you get cool ass armor and weapons and stuff. And I'm like, this is tight.
The one thing that I never really thought of was who's supplying the other gladiators.
You have to imagine it's
Is there another guy out
emperors
there?
or whatever fighting against each other,
But
right?
in this little one, it's like, is there another just dude out there that's got his team? Is this like the Saikai Taikai of the Roman
The
Empire?
Roman Empire? Yeah, maybe.
Because we get that. First off, this
or
is
is this the All Valley tournament?
this might be the all. This is
yeah,
definitely
you're
all
right.
about.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all
exactly.
You get this amazing shot, of course. I do want to touch on the fact that there was, during the battle sequence, the world's worst slow-mo that I've ever seen in my entire life that will happen in this movie sometimes. And, of course, the reason behind that is that's always a thing. You don't see too much anymore because slow-mo is way easier to acquire now. You don't eat up as much film stock. But, of course, for people who are uninitiated, if you were born 10 years ago and you don't understand why that happened, it's because Ridley Scott makes a decision afterward that, hey, that sequence should be slow. So they slow it down in post, and it always looks like shit. And I
so
wish
bad.
people wouldn't do it. Anyway,
I really hate it.
you contrast that with this shot where the dude just
Oh my God.
like slow-mo spinning that mace and chain, that ball and chain thing, and then homie comes out and just takes one right to the face.
Wild.
Awesome sequence. Highlights for me, Hagen, his guy goes down, so he cuts his hand off and starts beating people with the fucking hand on a chain.
Dude, that
which
was
is
crazy.
radical. Everyone dies, and everyone realizes that Maximus got the stuff.
I mean, what I love about this was the moment that really got me in the movie of like, I'm all in from here. Like I was in before, but now I'm like, we're cooking. I love that no matter how many movies I've seen or shows I've watched or any media I've consumed where there's violence and like a lot of the superhero stuff or more actual fantasy stuff, where it can get kind of like, all right, cool, you get shot, but then you maybe die, maybe you have a fucking speech to give or whatever. I love that this is two people or more, and their sole goal is killing the other person.
Yeah.
Like normally there's like, like we're gonna spar, we're gonna whatever. This is like straight up, you're trying to rip the other person out, and there is no defensive and like maybe you'll get a shot at it. It's like no, you're trying to rip their throat out.
Yeah.
And I feel like they did a really good job of constantly having that sense of tension and fear that like as a observer to it all, I was scared that at any moment something incredibly violent that I don't necessarily want to see is going to happen.
Yeah.
And you never know when it's going to happen. I feel like characters that might not be named, they might not have had any lines, but they still feel important. One by one are just knocked out and just killed.
Somebody else that's in the cage with him, and
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, I didn't think they were going to kill that guy.
Yeah.
And they do in the most brutal way possible. But I feel like that's what makes this movie so special is the just brutality of it all, but how realistic it felt. And then thinking like, oh, wow, this Gladiator shit actually happened. Like, that's scary.
So the one thing to note is that it didn't. This is a very like brutal version of it. a lot of gladiators didn't die. They weren't always fighting to the death. It was more like a lot of them were actually closer to like exhibition matches that had like moments, because you have to think about this in terms of like economics.
Oh yeah.
If you have a stable of gladiators and you kill them all in
Badass
one moment,
dudes. They all die.
Then how do you?
what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a common misconception, apparently, is that every single match ended in the death. Well, I'm reading right now, I guess like 1 in 10 would have resulted in like in a wound that would have killed someone. And then, of course, there is the thumb up, thumb down thing is real, although it's opposite in this. Because thumb down meant put your sword back into your sheath. And thumb up meant like send them to heaven, whatever the fuck it is. But the filmmakers were like, that's going to be really confusing for people because thumbs up for us means something good and then this means bad. Anyway, long story short, we go over to Rome and we see Rome for the first time. And it's an amazing sweeping shot of very, very CG Rome. We see the Colosseum. In this film, I just love that Ridley Scott was like, hey, Colosseum's big. I've seen the Colosseum. I saw it for the second time in my life. First time was in my adult life. And this last vacation I took with my wife. It was wonderful. It was a fucking transcendent experience. It's a cool, incredible marvel of engineering.
Is that where Cameron got the footage for the intro?
No, he got that from Beelzebub. Okay, the Lord, our Savior, Satan, because he's tapping into the dark forces there. But the Colosseum's big. Ridley Scott made it look bigger. I think he actually ended up like adding more to it, so it actually is bigger. And then, of course, the area around it is massive, and he shoots everything very wide, and everything just feels grand in this movie. And it feels expensive, even though it is CG. But it feels like this is what Rome should be. Rome to you, to anyone in your thought process, should be like this big ethereal kind of thing. It's a dream, right? It's a promise of modern civilization. Anyway,
this is obviously 25 years later or whatever. I was not impressed by the CG of this. And anytime they had like the money shots of the Colosseum from the outside, I was like, oof. I would not have lingered on this as long as we did. But
candidly, they weren't great back then either.
Yeah,
because I remember watching it being like,
stuff,
I remember watching it being like,
kind of
this
the same with
doesn't really-
Titanic too, though, right? Like all of those, like
to some extent, yeah. But like, when you have the Colosseum, like the way they present it, and like just,
I guess you have like
we're
a direct one-for-one like physical comparison.
Exactly,
still.
being in it, I always thought was awesome. Every single shot, I'm like, this is fucking rad. It's just the exterior of it, and I was like, I need to go watch the Lizzie McGuire movie. They got it right. You know what I mean?
This is what dreams are made of.
Of course, the Senate is not super overjoyed that Commodus is emperor now, but Commodus is like, I know what we're going to do. Everyone shut the fuck up. I know what we're going to do. We're going to make 150 days of games to honor my father, which is hilarious because, again, the father ended the games. And he's like, the Colosseum is the beating heart of Rome. The people will love it. And then, of course, even the senator that's against him, Senator Gracchus, is like, hey, this kid's actually not stupid because he realizes that the people like this.
This is my favorite part of, I think, the whole movie. For fear and wonder, a powerful combination. Yeah. I think he knows what Rome is. Rome is the mob. He'll conjure magic for them and they'll be distracted. He'll take away their freedom and still they'll roar. The beating heart of Rome is not the marble of the Senate. It's the sand of the Colosseum. He'll bring them death and they will love him for it. It feels like fitting.
It feels
2024.
very fitting.
Yeah.
So much of this is very WWE in terms of just like the storytelling and getting the crowd for acts of wanton violence and all this. And who's the man in charge? Like, who's the real final boss here?
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
I mean, look at, man. History repeats itself. Anyway, word gets back to the minor leagues that this is happening, and Proximus is super excited, except one small thing. His star hero, not super entertained to have to kill people all the time. We get, of course, the iconic line where he's like, are you not entertained? As he goes against 5 dudes, just murders them, and everyone's like, well, that was over kind of quick. And he's like, fuck you people.
Yeah.
Right? Fuck you people.
What a
It's
line.
funny to have such a line that has transcended this movie and like made its way into general pop culture vernacular. And it still like hits when you watch it.
Hits hard.
It's good, man. Of course, Proxima's like, look, what do you want? And he goes, I want to fucking crack it. I want to kill the emperor, basically. He's like, well, I'll get you the Colosseum, but you got to do it my way. You got to please the people. You got to be an entertainer. And of course, he gives him his badass armor, which is like, it has the 2 horses on it, which is interesting to me because it's another one of those moments where I go, well, that wasn't your armor. So did you really have 2 horses named Argento and Sparco? Or did you just make that shit up? And then if you just made that shit up, how does that play? It doesn't matter. We'll talk about that when we get to Gladiator 2. Ladies and gentlemen, he has a cool ass fucking mask too. And
Very
it's
cool.
The mask is so cool.
Let's see. Commodus, of course, his grand plan is he wants to just do away with the Senate. Dissolve them, maybe kill them all. Who the hell doesn't know? He just wants to be Roman emperor. Lucilla, of course, is in cahoots with Senator Gracchus. They want to stop this at all costs, if humanly possible. We arrive in Rome. Juba has a great line where he's like, Jesus Christ, I didn't think man could make things like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy. And of course, that was the whole point of obviously making something that big, was that other civilizations would come and you wouldn't even take them over. They'd just be like, fuck, this is crazy. Like, we want to be a part of this. This is the shit. Same with the Greeks with the Acropolis and the Parthenon and stuff like that. It was designed on the hilltops so anyone that came could see it and go, well, shit. We're never going to be that.
Yeah.
Let's just bow a knee right now before they just destroy us. We get this is where Lucius is touring the gladiator cells, and Maximus goes, yeah, this is my horse Argento, my horse Scarto, which makes sense, I guess, because it's not his armor. And then yeah, man, we go into the Coliseum, and he has to smell the dirt, and he's got this badass spiked helmet that he picks because he's like, well, they're going to know who I am, so he picks a sick ass spiked helmet, and we get the first game in the Coliseum, and we get, of course. For those of you about to die, those of us about to die, we salute you.
Come on.
And everyone's like, this is hype as shit.
Yeah.
And the first, the first battle, I believe, is the chariot battle.
Chariots, man.
Things.
Chariots run out with the freaking spike wheels.
Oh.
And I'm like, this is about to kick ass. And it does. This lived up to any expectation I could have possibly had.
There's
And
a
I'm
moment.
like, oh, this is where they got the idea for in Greece with the cars.
Yeah. There's a moment in this too that I don't think I ever quite picked up on before. But they're standing in like the phalanx kind of position, which I know is Greek, but they're standing in like together, crowded up.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of whispers it. He goes, has anyone had military experience? And like one dude goes, yeah, I served with you in like Germania. So people know who he is, and his army has been sort of like captured and put in there. And he goes, okay, well, if we stick together, we'll live through this. And of course, Hagen does, and he takes a fucking arrow to the knee. But ultimately, this is brutal and wild. And that one poor lady who's badass with a spear just gets cut in half.
Oof.
And he's just a bad motherfucker and just orders all of them, again, his strength being able to unite people and tell them what to do strategically. And they all live. And everyone's like, oh, it's the battle of, this is the Battle of Carthage, right? Because I think there's a great line where Joaquin Phoenix goes, I'm a little hazy on my history, but aren't the barbarian hordes supposed to lose the Battle of Carthage? And
So
he's like,
good.
sorry. He's like, no, it's okay. I don't mind surprises. Goes down to talk to Gladiator. Gladiator, of course, is like, my name is Gladiator. She's like, what are you going to say? Just say your fucking name.
Yeah.
Say something else. And he's like, he turns his back and he's like, don't turn your back on me. Who are you really? And he goes, my name is Maximus Decimus Aurelius, leader of the Fourth Empire. Oh, he's just a badass thing. And he's like, and I'll have my revenge today or said some other day. I forget what he says, but it's fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. In this life or the next life, I think is what he says. And
I
Joaquin
love you
Phoenix
so
is
much
like,
because it felt like you were so confident you had it.
I know, okay. Oh, I wrote it down
Maybe
too.
another day.
Shit. He says, my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
I love that.
Which is sick.
This
and the
day
crowd
or another day.
today.
Or
I'll
another
see
day.
you there. I'll see you another time. He's like, are you coming? I don't know. The crowd, of course, immediately is like, Maximus, because of course they know who he is.
Yeah.
Because the
He
internet's
was
a
the
thing.
Spaniard, right?
He was the
And
Spaniard.
Now he's
Yeah.
Maximus, baby.
Later that night, of course, Lucilla pays Maximus a visit, and this is very contentious. She wants to help him. She's like, you got to meet with my dude. I got a dude. He's like, fuck off. I don't trust you. I don't trust anyone. She, of course, lets him know. She's like, look, man, you have the virtue of like being a soldier and being respected and climbing through the ranks. I gotta do what I do to survive.
Yeah.
And I respect that. The next day, Juba tells Maximus that he's like, you got a great name, man. And he's like, he's got to kill your name before he kills you, just so you know. And I'm like, how do you know this shit? That's so cool. Of course, the next day, Caesar brings back the legendary Tigress of Gaul, played by Sven Olthorsen. Now, if you guys don't know who this guy is, he's been in a ton of movies because he was really good friends and lifting buddies with Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 80s. So everything
Oh.
Schwarzenegger would do that required bad guys that were jacked, he would cast his homies, and Sven Olthorsen was one of them. Of course, he's in Conan the Barbarian. He's in The Running Man. He's been in a bunch of cool shit.
Ghostbusters 2
Was he in Ghostbusters too?
as a stuntman.
Oh, very cool.
Lethal Weapon.
Death Becomes Her.
I love
He's
Death
just in a
Becomes
bunch
Her.
of stuff. He's jacked. He looks like I think he's from the same area. Maybe I think he's German, or maybe he might be Scandinavian or Swedish. Anyway, he knows Schwarzenegger, and they kind of
He's
are
from
jacked
Denmark,
together.
yeah.
Denmark. Yeah.
He was uncredited in Dodgeball as the lumberjack hit by a ball.
Makes sense.
What a
He's
what a
amazing.
filmography.
Of course, he has to fight Maximus, and Maximus fucking eats his lunch.
He was in Batman and Robin. This is the most exciting thing on this
Again,
list.
because Schwarzenegger was in this, so Schwarzenegger got him
yeah.
Schwarzenegger got him the hookup. Because
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger always
Probably one
hooked
of
his friends
the
up.
Weird, like hockey goons.
Something like
yeah.
that. Or one of the big, like, maybe.
Bane.
Oh, he might have been Bane, actually.
Like a. Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, no.
It just says stuntman,
No,
stunts only.
Of course, this is brutal. Maximus gets his ass kicked, but then he takes a little thing of like puts a nail through the dude's foot, and it's terrifying, and then beats his ass, and then of course
shoots out blood.
A special shout out to the fact that Sven Olsen in this has this meaty scar on his face, and he's like, "For those of us about to die, we salute you," because it's the cool Dutch accent, right?
Yeah.
And then puts down his visor, and it's like this cherubic face with a little teardrop, and it's
I
like this
didn't
very
notice
soft.
that.
Oh, it's terrifying. It's like imagine this hulking monster who puts this beautiful mask on. Like that's even scarier. Anyway, he loses, and the Emperor's like, "Fucking kill him," and Maximus is like, "No." And now they call him Maximus the Merciful, and everyone's like, "This dude rocks. He should definitely be emperor." Now, of course, this is a fantasy, right?
Yeah.
This is obviously like Spartacus, where like a slave can overthrow an empire and all that stuff. This is our version of like what we all wish we had the power to do to inspire people to be better, which we've all proven in the last few weeks just doesn't really exist. Not a real thing. But anyway, it's awesome, and they call him Maximus, and then immediately Commodus is like, "They love him. I don't know what to do. I gotta kill him. I gotta kill him."
Starscream ass, bitch ass bad guy, and I just love it. I love it so much, man. He's so good at just making me hate him.
But then Flacco or the other senator goes, "Hey, ho, chill out, man. Let me tell you a story about a fish. A fish that sits on the bottom of the ocean and it lets its enemies come to him. And then they bite him and they bite him and they bite him and they bite him. And then when they're full and slow, he strikes." I'm like, this is a fucking terrible analogy. These things could just kill you.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's like, basically, let's wait and see. Let's follow everyone. He has all the senators followed, of course. Maximus sees his buddy after one of the fights, and he's like, "Oh shit, it's you! It's Richard Grieco, or whatever his name was. Cicero, excuse me. Cicero, of course, you know that actor because he's got the badass scar right here. He always plays either a bad guy or he was one of Mel Gibson's dudes in Braveheart. Like he's one of his lieutenants, which is cool. And he's like,
I've never seen Braveheart.
I've also never seen Braveheart.
So I thought the Are You Entertained is from Braveheart. We had this whole conversation a couple of days ago. So when they said it in this, I was like, okay.
No.
Is there a big quote from Braveheart?
Oh yeah, there's a big quote, and I'm blanking on it right now.
Is Braveheart just Gladiator but on a boat ship thing?
No, Braveheart is what you think Gladiator is going to be, but it's not. Braveheart is William Wallace. It's a historical tale of a Scottish resistance against the king of England, and they fight mega battles in this. And he's got Barrett. You got to help me out here
with this quote.
With the quote.
I know.
Because it's going to kill me, and you're not allowed to look it up because you went to film school, so you can't look it up.
I did not go to film school.
You went to
I
acting
dropped
school.
out of City College.
You went to City Acting College School, so you can't do this. And chat, you're not allowed to
that
help
was
me out
more
with
theater. I wasn't doing film.
I also get all these confused with Waterworld. I also don't know how that fits into any of these, if anything.
Shit, it'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Joe, yeah, and that as well.
Braveheart, phenomenal as well. But
Yeah.
I would arguably say Braveheart's a vastly better movie than this.
Really?
And Braveheart's fucking incredible.
Chat
Barrett?
reminded me. Hold
on.
They may take our lives,
But that'll never take our freedom.
Okay.
Yeah, man. This is good. This is real good.
Thank
anyway,
you, chat.
Thank you, chat. I would have never gotten there. Of course, he's like, "Look, man, tell Richard Grieco, tell Lucille that I'll meet with her dude." Gracchus comes and he's like, "Look, here's what's going on. I have 5,000 troops. They're sitting in the thing, Osteria. You say, get me out of here tonight, and I'll go to them." And he goes, "No, we'll get you out of here, but we'll buy your freedom, but we'll get you out in 2 nights." I'm like, "Tonight? Get me out fucking tonight. You're in the cell. Go get some money, bribe the guy, get me the fuck out of the city. Nobody knows who I am. Put the mask back." Of course, it's a movie.
Anybody can wear the mask.
So he's like, "All right." And then, of course, Gracchus they follow him. They know he's out. And then, Commodus is a little weirded out about it, but he's like, "I don't know what's going on." And then that little stupid kid, Lucius,
Stupid little kid.
is like, "I want to be Maximus, the savior of Rome." And he goes, "Who called you the savior of Rome?" And he goes, "That's what my mom says."
Uh-oh.
It's a little
Hokey.
leap in faith and hokey of like, really? Because your mom was in it? But anyway, he's like, "Tell me everything." And then Lucilla just rolls over on everyone. Cicero dies. They capture Maximus. They capture the Senate. Everyone's captured. And we got one final battle, but it's going to be between, of course, Commodus has to kill him. And they have a banger of a scene here where he's like, "I loved you like a brother." Like, fucking, and then he stabs him in the back. And he's like, cover the wound with his armor before it bleeds so no one knows. He goes up. And
He's such a little...
he's a little fucker.
bitch.
And I love that he's wearing all white. And they put Maximus in black because he's got to be the bad guy, right? But he's like,
It's great.
But it's like an off-white, dingy white. It's cool.
It's so fucking
They go
good.
up and they start clashing, and Maximus just fucks him up.
So
It
this
is
entire
just
story is Stone Cold
awesome.
Steve Austin in the 90s during the Attitude Era, where it's just like anti-establishment, fuck the man, and this is him killing Vince McMahon like this in front of everybody. Like they go so far.
They go so hard in this.
Maybe I should get back into wrestling. You know?
Gotta get back in, Joe.
Of course, last but not least, he calls for a sword, and this is where Quintus is like, don't give him a fucking sword. Like, this enough is enough. We gotta let this play out. I'm not sure what Quintus's point here was, because I'm like, if you lose this, you're fucked.
Yeah.
But he takes a little dagger out, and of course Maximus just grabs the dagger, and in just the most quiet and violent fashion, turns it against Commodus and just shoves it through his fucking heart real slow while looking
So
into his
slow.
eyes like, shh. It's very much, it's this, and then of course the Upham moment from Saving Private Ryan, where Adam Goldberg gets stabbed by the fucking bayonet. Those two moments always are in my brain forever. They helped form me.
Below deaths.
It made me the man I am today. Anyway, he's like, everyone's like, damn, what do we do now? And he goes, hey, Quintus, free my men. Have them come here.
He's like stumbling around.
Give Rome back to the Senate or whatever. But like, everyone be cool. Cool? And everyone's like, yeah.
Cool.
He's like, cool.
It kind of is that.
And then passes and just, goes out. Lucilla comes up to him and he goes, hey, just to let you know, Lucius totally safe now. We ferreted it all. Nothing bad's going to happen to him. So don't, under any circumstances, think that he's in danger or do anything.
Don't let him out of your
do
sight.
anything.
Don't. Stay with him.
Yeah.
Rash right now.
Yeah.
Because you're fine. You're
He's
good.
totally
You've gotten what
fine.
you want. Everything's good. He dies. And of course, she's like, who will help me carry this man? And then everyone's like, he was a bad motherfucker. He was a soldier of Rome. I'll help you carry. I'll help you
And
carry.
it's straight
And they
up
carry him
fucking
off.
Spider-Man.
They
too.
do. And as they
You know what I
carry
mean?
Jesus off, of course, we have the cool floating shot above where he's floating up to heaven. And then it goes and we see the weed again where his hand's there and he sees his son running up the road and his smoke shovel wife being like, "You're gonna make out with me." And then we get a badass song. And then, of course, the last scene we have is Juba who's burying his the statue, little wooden figures that he keeps that represents his wife and his son. He goes, "You and I will meet again, my friend, but not today."
It's so sick, man. And I love this character. We didn't talk about him enough. So good.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to say his name, but
I want to say Jaimin Hatsu is how you say his name.
Yeah, the last part I'm not sure of. But love this guy. We've seen him. He was a
He's
bad guy
in so many different things.
Furious 7. He was in Guardians of the
Guardians,
Galaxy. He was in Gran Turismo, of course. No one can
I feel
forget
like he
that.
brings a lot of heart to this movie.
Me too.
In
He's very
kind of an
charming.
understated
And so
way.
young.
Look, very
Yeah.
charming man. Yeah.
Wildly young.
It's good. I think Hagen does a little too. Like they have a kind of homies, but yeah, it's a best friend relationship.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is Gladiator, everybody. Gladiator 1. Time for Ragu Bagu. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Ragu.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Bagu. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rag Guys Talk Bad Guys for the Gladiator in review. Right now, this is Commodus. Commodus.
And it's Commodus, man.
And he's great.
He's a
love
great
him
bad
as a
guy.
bad guy. I love that they don't even try to make us care about him and root
Not
for him.
a bit sympathetic.
Nope. You are a shitty emperor. We fucking hate you. You killed your dad. You're a piece of shit. We want to see you die. And when
Want
he
to sleep
dies,
with your sister? It's
it-
a little
yeah,
weird.
you want to fuck your sister way too bad. Just stop, dude.
Yeah, it's weird.
So
be
good
fair-
stuff all around.
I think he would make a top tier Ragu Bagu list.
I mean, I'm with
for
that.
a cross in review.
Just because he's everything he needs to be.
yeah.
To be fair, it was just perfect casting with Joaquin Phoenix.
Mhm.
He's the right
Ryan.
age. He's kind of shitty. To be fair, he's not the best of actors with the accent, but it all works because he's posturing the entire time. He's such a little fucking imposer, posture, piece of shit, and he's perfect and he nails it.
Amen.
Shout out to Connie Nielsen also for being actually probably the best actor in this whole movie.
Then we got ranking, obviously, Gladiator 1 is
Number one.
currently number 1. But y'all are going to have to return next week on Monday when we review Gladiator 2. Will we put it above 1? Will we put it below 1? Will the villain be higher or lower than Commodus? You'll have to come back and see. Until then, though, have a great day. I'll see you again, but not yet. Not yet.